Hey everybody, this is Pastor Brandon once again with the weekly update. This past week, Minister Chris Fernandez brought us through the end of Luke chapter 8, verses 40 through 56, where last week I spoke about how Jesus and his disciples traveled across the Sea of Galilee to Gentile territory, the first and only time Jesus did that in his ministry. And he went and he cast out demons. He cast out a legion of demons from these wild men who were possessed by demons. And the pagans who were there had no concept of who Jesus was. So they were afraid of this strange power and they told him to leave. The man who was saved from this demon possession begs Jesus to come with him. But Jesus tells him to stay and tell others about what had happened, making him the first Gentile evangelist. And so Jesus and his disciples return to Capernaum, and when they do, the crowd was waiting for them. The crowd was excited to see Jesus. Now, this was a crowd that had been assembled and growing since Jesus' sermon on the plain earlier in the Gospel of Luke. These were people who wanted to hear his teaching. These were people who wanted to be healed of their afflictions. So there was this large crowd waiting for Jesus and the disciples when he returned. And as soon as he did, they start hammering him with questions. But one man emerges. Jairus, a ruler in the Jewish synagogue, approaches him. And he falls down at his feet and he asks Jesus to help save his daughter. Luke says his only daughter, which heightens his plight. Because his daughter, who was 12 years old, was sick and dying. And Jairus knew Jesus could save her. So he, though he had a lot of authority in the synagogue, he goes and he is humble and he bows and pleads with Jesus to save his daughter. And Jesus does. He begins moving to save Jairus' daughter. But then we see an interruption in the story, because while Jesus is on his way to save the 12-year-old daughter, in the crowd he feels somebody grab his coat. That word we have there means to cling. Someone clung to his tassel or the end of his garment. It wasn't just a passing nudge. It was a gripping of a piece of his clothing. And then Jesus says, "Who touched me?" And of course, Peter, right, in typical fashion, he says, "There's people all around you. How will we know who touched you?" But Jesus said, "Power went out from me," giving us a glimpse of God. And this isn't to say God's power was exhausted, but that Jesus could tell, that he was aware that some of his divine power had gone to heal someone. And then we see this woman who was afflicted with a hemorrhage for 12 years. This hemorrhage that she had would have made her ritually unclean. So it wasn't only that she was sick, probably in pain, but she also was a social outcast and a religious outcast. She could not attend the synagogue. She could not be touched by anybody, for she would render them ritually unclean. And in her desperation, we see in the parallel accounts that she had no money left, for she spent it all on different doctors trying to heal the ailment. And then Luke, a doctor himself, says no doctor could cure her. So she goes to Jesus and clings to his garment. And because of her faith, she is healed. And that marks this beautiful moment. It's the only time in the recorded Gospels where Jesus calls someone daughter. And she was made well because of her faith. And so we see this 12-year-old girl approaching the end of her life, who was sick, and this woman who had been suffering for 12 years, whom Jesus heals. And because of this distraction and interruption, the girl who was sick passes away. But even still, Jairus continues to have faith in Jesus, knowing that Jesus can still save her. And so Jesus continues, goes to Jairus' house, and the professional mourners, the wailers who were there, you would pay people to make this sound of agony when someone died. They start laughing at Jesus because he goes to heal this girl, and they say she's dead, and he says, no, she's only asleep. So they laugh at him. Well, Jesus and a select few of the disciples and Jairus go up to this girl. He says, arise, and she does, and she is healed. But Jesus says to Jairus and his wife, do not tell anybody what had happened. And so we see this beautiful account ending Luke chapter 8, where we see the final 2 miracles of 4 that Jesus was displaying. Jesus shows his power over nature when he calms the storm earlier in Luke 8. Jesus shows his power over demons when he casts them out in the land of the Gerasenes. And then he shows his power over sickness and death by healing the woman afflicted for 12 years and by healing the 12-year-old daughter who was sick and died, bringing her back to life. So Jesus exhibits power and authority in this account, bringing Luke chapter 8 to a close, reminding us to have great faith and not to be dismayed if Jesus doesn't work in our timing. Because though we may be fearful, though we may have sorrow, God's timing is always better than our timing. So let me encourage you, be like Jairus and trust in Jesus. Even though nothing else was working, let me encourage you to be like the woman who had a hemorrhage and she tried everything and nothing was working. So she went to the one who can heal all things, Jesus Christ, the Messiah. I pray that encourages you today. And so we have an exciting ministry schedule for October. We keep things going at Fifth Street, y'all. So we have our men's and women's Bible study every Monday at 6:30 p.m. over in the back, the fellowship hall area. I pray you would go to that. We have our Wednesday night prayer service in addition to our Wednesday night student groups, ACT Teens for youth girls 6th to 12th grade, Challengers for youth boys 6th to 12th grade, and Children in Action for kindergarten through 5th grade co-ed students. Sunday, 9:45 a.m., we have Sunday school for all ages. 11 a.m., we have a worship service. And at 6 p.m., we have a worship service. And this Friday, we have a special fellowship event. We have the Love You to Pizzas pizza making party. I pray you would come to that. If you are interested, let Miss Alice know, let us know, send us an email. There's a sign-up sheet in the foyer. Let us know so we know how much materials to get to make pizzas. So that's going to be Friday in the evening. You can see our website for details on that and for details on our schedule for the rest of the month. Always, you can see what is happening at church at FSBCKW.org. All of our events, all of the times are there on a little calendar on our homepage. So if you're ever wondering, what are they doing? Go straight to our website. That's all I have for you. May the Lord bless you, may he keep you, and make his face shine upon you. Have a great week.